I'm the CEO and co-founder of Topix. We're an internet news site which is now oriented around local. Basically, one of the things here I thought was really interesting is talking about the redefinition of local and how we sort of rearranged what we were doing around local, around community on local. So one of the things that's happening in what we've seen is the web is not a place. In 1997, the web essentially was a separate place for all advertisers and most people thinking about business on the web. There were so few people essentially in the mid-90s on the net that basically they were of a type, they were of a demographic. It was only like, okay, we're going to do San Francisco, New York, and the web. But it turns out that once most people are actually online, the web is not a place. Every site visitor is coming in from somewhere. They live or work somewhere. You can't eat lunch on the web. You go places. There are physical places that you can connect from an advertising standpoint or from a community standpoint. People gather around the place where they live, and it's not virtual. It's in the real world. The IRL, as it were. 90% of purchases, for example, are made locally. Even though e-commerce now is 10% of retail purchases, 90% of it isn't. So if you're actually trying to connect people, one of the interesting things is, from an advertising standpoint, people generally buy stuff, well, where they live or work. So there's a huge opportunity here. For advertisers, certainly. For publishers like us. And for community. Because one of the things about community is, if you go look at what's been out there, and I'll talk a little about this later, most social networking sites, or places when you think of community sites, are generally based around who you know. And that may or may not really be local. It doesn't necessarily have a real connection into your locality. And conversely, you also don't know a lot of the folks that live maybe a block away from you. So from the standpoint of, well, why would you want to get in here? I'm not sure if, of what you guys are doing, how many of you are orienting or building websites or building community around what you're doing. But from an advertising business standpoint, we looked at it and said, wow, there's about $157 billion advertising market in the US. Total US online ad dollar, about $20 billion of that. The total US local ad dollar is $97 billion of the $157 billion, according to eMarketer. So it's like 2/3 of the ad dollars are locally focused. And that's something that just boggled my mind. I was like, oh wow, that's pretty neat. Now, the total US local online dollars that are currently over, there were this as 2008, I think. So it's a very small percentage. So if you look at the 3 billion out of the 20 billion, looks like there's a lot of growth there. So if you kind of look at this and divide it up, basically we think that there's a huge amount of growth going on there. So you can either look at this as like, wow, what a great growth opportunity, or, oh dear, that's tiny, you're never going to work. So that's really the choice if you're going to go local, and at least depend on advertising, is you have we think a huge amount of upside as people move online and the local advertising goes with them.